If you are not one seeking or wielding power, it doesn't mean that it won't be wielded against you.
It's like, you picked the wrong one. Don't discount the actual system because you executed it poorly. I keep wanting men to wake up and figure out that they are the prize.
Doesn't matter if we need it or not. If there was a perception that the need existed and that perception isn't satisfied, it ruins everything. Anytime women don't get their way, people get upset on social media because it turns out that when they're without guidance, oftentimes they do self-destructive things.
Like practically getting run over by electric cars in the airport on the concourse. Don't half-ass a bunch of things. Whole-ass one thing.
Whole-ass one thing. You can be 100% right, and if you talk to somebody the wrong way, you can just blow the interaction, even though you are factually correct and all the evidence is on your side.
Just because some things are true does not mean that they need to be said out loud.
And sometimes things absolutely need to be said, and you should say it loud and proud and with your chest and stand by it. Today, we're diving back into the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Today, we're going to be tackling laws 21 to 24. Just a quick disclaimer once more, because if we're talking about power, it gets a bad rap in our society nowadays. And power exists in marriage, business, church, community, individual relationships. Whether you acknowledge it or not, it's just part of life. And if you are not one seeking or wielding power, it doesn't mean that it won't be wielded against you. So that's what we're talking about. Robert Greene's work is descriptive in nature, as in it describes things. It is not prescriptive in nature, as in it doesn't say you should do these things. Those are very different things. This is kind of like a cafeteria of goods. You go ahead and take the lessons that make sense to you and implement it in your life, and the ones that you don't, at least be aware of them. That's kind of the message we're trying to get across. And, subtly, this is one of those things where we're trying to get this across to our children too, because they'll eventually see this. So we want to make sure that everybody's on the same sheet of music about how these things go. Why do you think that discussions about power get such a horrible rap in today's culture and often get mistaken about control or abuse and things like that?
Projecting.
Right? Okay. So what do you mean? Go ahead and elucidate that a little bit.
Well, especially for women. When you see advice to high caliber men and stuff like those kind of videos, especially here you go, Andrew Tate.
What about him?
The way he is trying to warn men not to put up with nonsense, to have a direction and walk in it confidently.
Sure.
He's insecure, he's controlling, he's it automatically, it's just people just come in with a chip on the shoulder.
Well, that and he's
very women come in with a chip on their shoulder.
Well, he's a really polarizing. Well, yeah, women and white knights that are let me defend my lady, right? But the thing is, he's such a polarizing character because he's got this really complicated backstory that really colors a lot of his message. And so when you have both things put together, I could see how that makes it even more difficult. Yeah, it's a tinderbox. It's ready to go ahead and explode. It's like fireworks.
But the thing is, the reason why I bring that one up immediately, because the vast majority of people who listen to podcasts and stuff like that,
can recognize that.
They'll recognize it immediately. But any other person who does that, who tries to give decided advice, especially to empower men.
Oh yeah, our society hates that. In a lot of ways.
And it's just this whole double, we talk about it all the time. When a woman says, this is what I want, these are the metrics I want in a partner, blah, 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 blah.
They're just preferences.
It's a preference.
Right.
And then when he says, I keep seeing this video, one of the videos, it was a couple of them from the same dude. He talks about he's a billionaire.
Sure.
And he wants to marry a virgin.
Okay, what's wrong with that?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But here's all the 304s lining up, telling on themselves how they don't qualify.
Well, yeah, they go ahead and get mad at him because they don't qualify.
Yeah,
and so,
what is your sexual history?
Does it matter?
It doesn't matter, does it?
Right?
Because what are they paying attention to this for? Because he's a billionaire.
Right. Because they see the prize there and they're like, I can't get access to the prize because his standards are beyond my station. Yeah. And because of that, they go ahead and rage against the machine.
He's
it's
insecure and controlling.
Sure. Hold on. There's more than one golden rule, right? So the first golden rule is the one that we find in Scripture is treat others how you would have them treat you. But the other golden rule is he who has the gold makes the rules, right? So it's like,
love Aladdin.
you got to go ahead and put those two together and realize that at a certain point, the guy that has is an attractive mate to a wide swath of women. So he has the ability to negotiate terms that are favorable to him because he has what so many people want.
That's why I keep wanting men to like wake up and figure out that they are the prize.
Well, if they build themselves up, they
Yeah.
have to go ahead and make something of
I'm
themselves
talking
first.
about like men, like
Sure.
men who are worth a damn.
Got
like,
it. But you have
know.
to qualify that nowadays because
Yeah.
like the percentage of those dudes is relatively low compared to the overall population.
But even these average guys who are just solid dudes,
Sure.
not even like, you know, high value, high earning, blah, 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 whatever. No, they can provide a comfortable life to a woman who has a practical view, you know, like a comfortable life, a steady life that she wants to live.
Sure.
Like so many women purport that they want that. But they really don't, because then they want the this and the that and the other things.
That's why you trust their actions, not what they say.
And so they are trying to they almost dupe men into thinking that they want like this golden retriever
Sure.
to be attractive to mid women. Like not even like mid modern women, like mid attractive, like
Mid,
but fully modernized women.
right. Where if you were to go ahead and look at the standards of 50 years ago, they wouldn't even be mid by those standards, right? And it's just one of those things where we've got this 304-flation going on where the value dynamic is very skewed nowadays.
And the great hoe reformer. Reform.
Right. So let's go ahead and get back to the issue at
Anyway.
hand. So
Yeah.
Law 21, we're talking about play a sucker to catch a sucker or seem dumber than your mark. So this is one that I needed a lot of work on when I was young because I'm pretty smart and I did not know how to tone it down for the benefit of other people.
We were just talking
We
about this.
literally
not too
were
long
talking
ago,
about this.
But you have to qualify it with the perspective you were coming in with it.
Sure, like I had assumed that everybody was just as smart as I was. And I was like, oh man, everybody can go ahead and do this. This is normal and natural, right? And it was something that it had not been something that had gained my notice that other people had no internal monologue or had no way of engaging with hypotheticals or things like that. I did not recognize that other people were incapable of that for the longest time. I just assumed that everybody was on the same level because I didn't know any better. And it was just kind of a weird thing to get to that realization that not everybody's on the same level because when we're being raised into this modern culture in a lot of ways, we're like, oh, hey, everybody's equal. So it's like, oh, well, if everybody's equal, let's treat them equally.
Except you find out that you're not, especially if you are a heterosexual Protestant white male.
Right. I mean, shoot, even before the whole Protestant thing, like just being a white male that's got like above average intelligence and you're just engaging people at that level, people can't handle it sometimes. And it's just like, oh, right. I didn't know how to tailor my speech appropriately to the right audience, which is like one of those things that in my 20s that came to me, but in my early teens, when I was arguing with my uncles about things and they were getting mad at me, it's like, well, can you beat my argument? They're like, no, but you're being a pissant. You need to shut up. And I'm like, okay, fair enough.
Okay, then.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
But the idea is that in this case, if you display your intelligence too openly to the wrong crowd, they can easily go ahead and get an inferiority complex. And it isn't about like you trying to go ahead and talk down at them. It's about you respecting their intelligence and say, hey, are we on the same sheet of music? I think a better perspective would be to go ahead and start low and let them raise the stakes and then you catch up with them, right? Rather than, I mean, depending on what side of the power dynamic you're on. If you're like the person in authority, you want to maintain a decent level. But if you're the guy that's the subordinate, you definitely don't want to try to outshine your supervisor or anything like that.
But also, if you haven't had the chance to read the room, or you haven't actually done the reading of the room,
Yeah.
you shouldn't flop your balls on the table like first,
Right. Well, and
because you're gonna draw fire, like no matter what.
so what's interesting about reading the room is at least knowing where you're at will give you some context clues about where to start, right? Like if you're just at a McDonald's, don't go ahead and start at the average or above average, right? But if you are in like at a banquet, you can go ahead and stand or start a little bit higher, right? Because there's other people that are dressed in appropriate attire. And you're like, oh, based on your attire, I can go ahead and get a general sense of where you're at. It may be true or may not be, but at least the context of the room you're in gives you something to start from.
Gives you some context to start with, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas like when I was a teenager, I'd be like, oh yeah, everybody's smart. Let's just go guns blazing. Y'all can go ahead and keep up, right? Hell no, that wasn't the case.
That does give it a different vibe.
Right.
When it's like at face value, it's like, oh, what are you doing? But then if you give that kind of context that you were coming from, it hits different.
It does, but it doesn't like stop them from feeling a certain kind of way.
No, of course not. But it's just interesting because I probably had an idea back when, in the beginning when we met, like that
was what was going on.
That's what was happening, but it was never really articulated until like 2 weeks ago.
Sure. Well, it's just something you go ahead and get over time because I didn't have like that formal or even informal instruction be like, hey, have you thought about this? Because nobody had held that mirror up to me at that point. I was unaware.
Yeah.
And I did not have appropriate mentorship to go ahead and show me along that way. So that's why we're here to go ahead and help you figure this out. If this applies to you, take it for what it is. One thing that you could do, in addition to reading the room and things like that, is starting from a place of humility. That's a great default in almost every circumstance. Is if you go ahead and start from a position of humility, it's easy to go ahead and like have other people exalt you or raise the stakes so that you're not the one causing discomfort in others. I mean, this is similar to the whole like why we do things to help other people feel comfortable in a social setting.
But also, like, if you are trying to magnanimously like start at a lower level, like operate at a lower, and it is still way too high for most people, then you can kind of either just kind of go from there and kind of sidestep your way out.
Oh, definitely veer your way out of the conversation for the most part at that point.
Because at that point, I don't know. I just, when I'm trying already and I'm trying to like meet people where they're at and it is still too high a bar to be set, I'm like, I don't think this is the place for me.
Well, right, because if you have to go ahead, if you have to try to operate at a place of discomfort for an extended period of time, the mask will eventually come off.
Yeah.
Right? Because at some point, like you will not be able to maintain that for an extended period of time. If that is so far away from your level of comfort, like you'll revert to the mean eventually, and that's going to be a different place for every person. Now, this isn't really just a thing about deceiving other people. The point is to go ahead and manage the egos of everyone around you and how it'll help you influence other people by not setting them off, right? So if you, like using a Dragon Ball term, hide your power level for a little bit to go ahead and make sure that you're not just like offending people, I think that you are in a much better position to exert influence and to go ahead and change hearts and minds than you would be otherwise.
And you mentioned this a couple minutes ago that like it's for a small amount of time. You don't sit there and just maintain that because otherwise it does become a mask. And there is a difference between being magnanimous and trying to meet people where they're at and being
condescending,
but also being inauthentic.
Sure.
Like trying to be fake, like it's going to come off that way. Then that's why you keep it brief as possible until you kind of gauge where everybody's at.
Right.
And then you can correct from there.
Or even, so say you have to be you're in a meeting with a bunch of people and like the average is not exactly where you're at. You don't have to talk a lot. You could just stay silent and let your influence be felt when it matters. Like that's another way you can handle this so that you can go ahead and keep your tongue bridled and to keep yourself on an even keel so that you're not like letting your mask slip and then offending people out of nowhere, right? That just doesn't go ahead and serve the common good most of the time, right? And it also affords the opportunity for other people to feel competent, right? Even if there's a competency gap, I would much rather other people feel competent where they're at their given level than to insult them. by trying to go ahead and talk down at them. That's ridiculous. And it just doesn't serve any good for either side of that equation. Unless, you yourself are an egomaniac and you go ahead and get off on that. But then, now you're using malicious power and, hey, check your motives on that and figure out what you actually want to be doing with this.
Yeah, that's a whole different context than this right here.
No, but it goes in hand in glove on this kind of thing.
You're taking it a completely different way. To a completely different level.
If you go ahead and go that way.
That's what I'm just saying. That's
well, and if you got to go ahead and make a correction for somebody, because this is something that can easily go left is if there's a differential in understanding and then you've got to go ahead and bring somebody up to a different level of understanding, the way that you approach that matters too, right? Because if you're just going guns blazing and be like, you're an idiot, here's this, here's that, some people actually respond well to that. But you need to know who they are.
Which takes a minute.
It takes a minute because, even among friends, right? You can make those casual remarks among friends if y'all have that kind of friendship. And if it's going to be taken well and it's going to be for their benefit, use it. If calling each other idiots when you guys are in the wrong helps you to develop each other and yourself, do it. That's just the minority case. Let's be real honest.
Yes.
So now, in the context of a marriage, sometimes this is something that you make the correction, and depending on the nature of your relationship, you might dig in or ease up depending on what the nature of the behavior is. Because some behaviors need more correction than others. If they're way the heck off the reservation, giving them subtle hints and then trying to guide them gently isn't the way you're going to end up getting change. But other things is just a gentle nudge and then see what happens. And if nothing happens, go for another gentle nudge.
Be a little bit more overt than that.
Sure.
By degrees.
Because the idea is just to not be passive, right? Is guidance and direction will be needed from time to time.
Yeah.
That's just reality.
That's been one of those basic things basic threads we've been weaving through this whole time.
Right. And the thing is, knowing your wife or knowing your husband are essential pieces to this. And sometimes women can be unpredictable. Sometimes it turns out that feelings completely change how you approach things. Depending on where they're at in their cycle, it could be completely different. And part of being a wise leader of your family is recognizing where you're at in the cycle. If you track her cycle, if she has a regular one, it might be helpful for you. Don't let her know that you're doing it, though.
For you, though.
Yeah, a regular cycle. But I could pick up on context clues pretty easily, right? And it's just one of those deals where I think most guys have a harder time with that off rip. So just know who you're dealing with at a given time, because she could be different every day.
Which iteration you're dealing with.
Yeah, it's which of your multiple personalities am I dealing with today? But it's just one of those things where it exists, it is real, but if you go ahead and point it out too obviously or too overtly, she'll get pissed off about it.
Well, it's
every time.
It's like telling a bee to calm down.
And it's just got one mode, sting.
It's never going to go well.
But sometimes you have to go ahead and dig in to get past the external shell. Because sometimes that defensive shell is a cover to avoid accountability.
Yeah.
We know that most women are not big fans of accountability to begin with, right? Whereas I think men are culturally accustomed to accountability as a baseline expectation upon them, right? Because if guys can't accept accountability, they get outcast from most positions of authority, of supervision. Yeah. They can't be trusted.
Life will kick you in the teeth real hard.
Right? Whereas women, they can go ahead and get off on looks or being pleasant or any number of things to avoid accountability. It's a lot of times women won't say, I'm sorry. But what they'll do is when they get to feeling better and they know that they're in the wrong, they'll go ahead and dress a little bit more scantily and go ahead and put themselves in their man's direction as her way of saying sorry. And it's just one of those things is they're not saying sorry with their lips, but they're saying sorry with other things that they have going on. And it's their version of taking accountability. But a lot of times the guys would just be much happier recognizing a change in behavior on a permanent basis than to have her not acknowledge that it is wrong in the first place and try to cover over it with other things. Like, that's the big difference. Yeah. Is like, sure, the makeup action is fun after a fight, but that doesn't mean that the fight was necessary in the first place.
And that is why we're saying, like, the worst thing you can do is be passive.
Yeah.
Even if you call it out and do it badly, it's better than not doing it and putting up with that.
Sure. And if you call it out and she goes ahead and backlashes you, just say it with your chest and don't back down. Like, seriously, if you go ahead and make a correction and then you puss out afterwards, like, it's as if it's worse than if you didn't do anything in the first place. So just say it with your chest, do the thing. If you see that something is plainly wrong, give her the instruction, give her why, and move on. And if she wants to go ahead and fight about it, don't fight with your woman. Just move on, give her time, then reapproach later. Because most of the time, it's just a matter of they got to sort their feelings out about what you said, not actually dealing with the content. They're dealing with the context of what was said. It's like, oh, he hates me or whatever. It's like, no, the guy never said that he hated you. He just said that he wants you to not pee all over the toilet seat, not clean up. Right?
Okay.
Or some other nonsense. Whatever like annoyance it is, or whatever correction that needs to be made is just the behavior is the thing that changed. It's not that I have ill feelings toward you other than right in the moment where I go ahead and sit and just like, oh, this is gross. In that example.
Okay.
Yeah. So it applies in marriage, but it also applies in business because if you're the guy that is the smartest guy in the room, you usually don't have to say anything. You just let people go ahead and do their thing and make your adjustments and provide your input as necessary and let them handle it. Let them take care of it. Unless you need to go ahead and pull out your smarts, there's no reason to go ahead and just lord it over everybody with it. And then finally, just in terms of just leadership, generally speaking, you demonstrating your intelligence is not as important as getting the outcomes you want. That's the thing is like, are you just trying to go ahead and sound smart for you, or do you want other people to live better lives, or do you want the objective to be met? What is the priority here? I hope it's the latter and not the former. Because if it's the former, then it's a reflection of additional growth being needed on that part. Now, when someone is constantly correcting somebody or tries to go ahead and make argument over and over again and doesn't really get anywhere, what do you think about that circumstance? Like if you feel like there's correction and they might be right about something, but they're not like all the way right. If they keep trying to dig in.
Circling back and trying to further qualify it?
No, because I think that would be the better way to handle it. I would say like
sometimes there's like over explaining. Ask me how I know.
Sure, but take it from the perspective of correcting the children on something.
Okay.
Like if you feel like you need to be the one doing the correction and things aren't going through, what would you imagine is going through the minds of the children that are on the other end of that?
Well, if it's just like the same approach each and every time.
Sure, we'll go with it that way. Or you can go ahead and take it however you want. I'm just trying to get you
that is the quintessential like warning in Ephesians about exasperating your children.
Yeah.
Because that's just like, it's like ramming your head up against a brick wall every single time. It's the same. It's like, obviously it's not happening. You need to find a different approach. Like, so it's not going to be a productive interaction other than to just breed resentment. And like, there's going to come a time where it's like, what is the point? I keep trying to fix it and it's still not enough. So
sure, but the thing is like something to be considered is any improvement is better than no improvement first. But second, to say that any improvement in and of itself is enough, you have to go ahead and be really sure that that's the case, because a lot of times you'll make an improvement from 5% good to 8% good, but there's still 92% of the way to go
Yeah, but if
That's
it
different.
isn't communicated that there was that, albeit marginal improvement, I think it's almost as if, like, if the amount of what was improved or the feedback isn't there, it's almost like nothing was done.
Okay. Do you think
So-
that sometimes that acknowledgement of the effort that is put in and the attainment of the difference is overwashed if there is another correction down the road? Like,
Not necessarily. Like, this is where you need to probably be intentional, especially when it comes to women and children.
right?
And people like where they don't get it. Like,
Sure.
they're not reading the room and they're not like actually, you need to provide almost a little bit more feedback than you would. Not like praising the hell out of
pat them on the head.
That
Oh,
was
my
so
gosh.
good. Now this time,
Because that would be
obviously,
condescending.
That would be condescending and patronizing, and that's not good. But like going,
But what does it look like correctly done?
like, basically, it's almost like that sandwich of like positive, negative,
The
positive.
crap sandwich?
Yeah, yeah. So almost like that, but you don't need to be that.
Mechanical about it.
Yeah, it
Sure.
doesn't need to be that regimented. Where it's like, okay, I see where you were going, like in a certain direction, and that was great. Now, like this time, you just like put another track of focus there, but it's like, but it's going good. You're doing great. Let's just do a little bit better. That kind of thing.
Let's be honest, guys. Sometimes we're not gonna have time in the moment to go ahead and do that. Find some way to go ahead and mix some good with the bad.
Obviously, especially if you are dealing with a marital, like a spouse,
Sure.
and you're trying to like
Get them going
get them
along the way.
on the right track. Especially if they have children, they can be able to identify with us.
Sure, but then that goes back to the whole like resisting accountability thing
Yeah.
a lot of times.
But also, when there's always a dynamic or a situation where there isn't time for all of that kind of stuff, where it's just like, I need you to do this now. I've definitely made it one of my personal missions not to tell my kids because I said so.
Sure.
But I've always been like, sometimes you need to just do what I say right then, and we can talk about it afterward.
Right.
There will always be a time after the fact, at the very least, to question what was happening.
Yeah. And I think that with a strong like family head, it should also be that way with the wife. Is like, look, I'm just asking you to make the meal. Can you just make the meal? Is that
Yeah.
okay? Right? And you're like, but why? It's like, no, I really don't need that right now. What I need you to do is I need you to do the thing and we can talk about it later. Right?
Yeah.
And the willingness to be open to that level of correction is really important, because unless just very basic things can be asked, what's the point? There is no help meet there. There is no help and there is no meat. It's just one of those things.
MEET or MEAT?
Neither of it
Neither
applies.
one.
It's all wrong at that point. If you can't ask for very simple things in your marriage when you as the guy are doing everything to protect, provide, and preside, if she can't make a dang meal when you ask for it, something is fundamentally wrong and needs to be addressed. And not in one of those like kid gloves kind of ways, right? It is just that big of a deal. So you have to figure out, what kind of deal is it? So going back to the whole like hiding your power level kind of thing, it's really important that you don't try to make people feel small in your interactions, because they'll end up resisting you. And if you go ahead and just come into a situation calm and confident, it's easier to guide somebody along the way in a gentle way. And that enhances your ability to influence them, and it enhances their appreciation of you, because they're going to hate on you for giving them instruction in the first place just based on how you provide it. Maybe you should provide it a little bit differently. That isn't to say, though, that you need to put feels before reals, because that's ridiculous. At some point, you got to just be like, look, I need you to do the thing, if that's what the authority structure is.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Cool. Let's move on to law number 22. Use the surrender tactic. Transform weakness into power. So sometimes you are going to be completely outmatched. That is reality. There is always going to be somebody bigger, stronger, faster, wiser, smarter, all of that. You are not the top dog in every category, in any category, realistically, that has any like broad merit to it. Like, okay, you can be the top #1 chess master in all of the land, but that doesn't go ahead and do anything when you're in a situation where physical harm is at risk. They are completely different arenas. So sometimes you got to go ahead, read the room, and know where you stand in the pecking order and act accordingly. It's not cowardly to have a humble analysis of what's going on around you and make the smart play. Because if you live to fight another day, you're not dead. And you still have the ability to have influence later on and to grow and to level up, right? This kind of reminds me of when you're playing like a role-playing game and you end up taking a wrong turn at Albuquerque and you're like, why is there a beholder here? There is no reason we should be seeing those eye stalks anywhere near our characters right now. Something went horribly wrong. There's nothing wrong with just running away from that. Like, you don't have to go ahead and be like, oh yeah, we got this. We're just going to go ahead and run in headlong. That's a way to get your party wiped.
Or like, looks like I'm soloing an aboleth at level 2.
Oh, jeez. She wanted to run off.
Yep.
Never split the party.
But now she knows. Now her teenage child knows you never split the party.
You don't split the party. Right. So the real idea here isn't just the whole like, don't get slaughtered if you're way the hell outmatched. The idea is that if you are struggling way beyond your capability, a lot of times it's a waste of energy because the amount of progress that you can make against overwhelming odds oftentimes is so insignificant compared to facing challenges that are reasonable to your level, right? Another thing is that if you are in a given position and you tactically retreat and it's known what the deal is, most people aren't going to go ahead and give you guff for making an intelligent choice about stuff, right? Like if you're a normal 5'10" guy and there's this 7'11" Goliath of a man that's 800 pounds, nobody's going to go ahead and give you guff for not fighting the guy. Like, sure, nobody expected David to take out Goliath, but nobody was saying, oh yeah, he's definitely going to get it 100%. It wasn't of his own strength that thing happened. And I think that, interestingly enough, staying composed in those times where like you're completely overwhelmed gives you a lot of street cred, because sometimes when you are facing the dragon and you don't crap your pants, that is the better play than the wild barbarian running in and just getting burnt to a crisp. Completely different tactics for different times. Now, just because you surrender doesn't mean that you're like giving up on life. It just means that you have an acknowledgement that there is more to be gained from giving in than just fighting to the last man. A lot of times you saw this in like military conflicts where some militaries would go ahead and say that you never surrender, you fight to the last man, whereas other more gentlemanly, military conflicts would go ahead and recognize that when your forces are far outmatched, sometimes as the commanding officer, it is the right choice to go ahead and offer terms of surrender in order to preserve the lives of your men, because it doesn't do them any good for them to be slaughtered and not return to their families. And sometimes you have to go ahead and make the gentlemanly choice. And that's a highly contextual one. But sometimes you need to know when you're far outgunned and make an appropriate choice from there. So from a woman's perspective, I think this is something that is often a case of knowing when to fight back on things that you're given and when to go ahead and just be like, yes, let's go ahead and just do that. What's the general perspective from you on this kind of thing?
Just the nature of being in a traditional relationship. Mm-hmm. Already, if you even are willing to do that, you're almost like thrown into the deep end as far as, especially coming from being a product of a modern culture.
Okay.
If you're trying to just throw yourself into this, there's a lot of those kind of decisions that you're going to have to make. It's like, is this the hill I want to die on?
Right.
Like most of the time, hopefully you'll realize really quickly that most of the time the answer is no. And especially in the beginning, a lot of the times it was just to just stay silent rather than like just, even kowtow and just be like, yeah, okay, whatever you say, because that's also a different vibe than just putting your head down and just like doing the things and working with your spouse rather than, just going, okay, whatever. Or saying, okay, this is the little petty thing that I'm going to hold on to. Because most of the time, let's be honest, especially ladies, like most of the time, a lot of those things are pretty petty.
Yeah, the things that you don't want to back down on.
Yeah.
Because all the big things, like hopefully in your relationship, you have alignment on major things, right? And hopefully you have developed enough trust in your relationship that when something big happens and he says, babe, I need you to just do this thing. I'm going to go ahead and handle this. I need you to handle this so that we can do what needs to be done. Hopefully you can just say, yes, sir, and get on board. And there you go. But not everybody's relationship is like that.
And it's so interesting because usually you get the pushback that you get from these kinds of things when people are prescribing a traditional relationship. They're going, I tried to adjust my husband and I had to divorce him because he was abusive, blah, 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 blah. It's like, you picked the wrong one. Don't discount the actual system because you executed it poorly.
Right, but then I'm also like hesitant to go ahead and accept the story lock, stock, and barrel because oftentimes they're telling it only from their perspective, right? Because most of the time it's her side, his side, and then the truth. And it's somewhere in between normally.
It's like, okay, well, yeah. I'm very reticent to trust people like that kind of thing at face value because most of the time and the majority of the time is he did this and he did that.
And he was an abuser.
It didn't work because he. It's like, okay,
what's your part to play in this?
What are you willing to own up to? Oh, I did everything right.
I was a perfect little angel. Yes.
BS.
I'm sure.
Absolutely, like 99.98% of the time, BS. Absolutely. But the thing is that it takes time to learn this and you're going to fail. You are.
Yeah.
And I've talked with my now 9th graders when I was, from the time I started teaching in 8th grade with more than just my own children, that there are 3 responses to things, especially when power dynamics are at play. There's the willing, which you should be, right?
Right.
But there's the willful and the will-less.
Right.
So especially if you are taking a secondary supportive role in a relationship, if you just throw your hands up and go whatever you want, that's being will-less.
Right.
And that is not the way to go. And that is actually how most modern women play off a traditional relationship.
Right.
They just think we have no say and we're complete doormat. No, that's not it. That is not what we're prescribed to do.
I tell you what, like if most modern women just did that, they would still be way better off because
Honestly,
at least they wouldn't be fighting against the course.
Definitely. Like the thing is that if you are trying to like conform to and walk, a relationship back to this better place,
Right.
you might have to do that until you can kind of learn the dynamics properly. You might have to default to like this kind of primitive baby steps kind of thing.
Yeah.
Sort of like when you're up to your eyeballs in debt and you have to like, that's why Dave Ramsey makes his money.
Yeah, because you
on
go ahead
these
and give
people
them,
who just don't know how to handle money.
yeah, you give them something easy to apply and something that provides emotional benefit, and they can go ahead and flex the muscle over time. It's like going to the gym. You don't go and put 2 plates on either side. Your first go at it most of the time. You might have some ogre that can go ahead and just go at it first and raw dog it, with no formal training. Fine, but for most men, that is not the case, right?
Yeah, you're going to hurt yourself and you're not going to want to go back.
Right. So
what's the point?
The idea is to go ahead and train your muscles over time with progressive overload. And there you go. You get a little bit better every time. Just like developing habits, you get a little bit better every time. And that should be the way to progress and grow, right? Whereas a lot of times people get thrown in the deep end.
Oh dear.
And instead of like really thinking through that process, if they are coming from a place where they don't have a sound foundation, those first few sessions are going to be rough. And like every little incremental change will feel like a lot. But then later on, those incremental changes will just be like, okay, cool. This is a little bit harder, but that's fine because I remember what it used to be.
Yeah.
And now I see that it's very different. And I just want that for a lot of families to go ahead and like get through the hard work of getting there. And it's not for the faint of heart a lot of times.
No. But anything that is especially of eternal significance is hard. Mm-hmm. It is. So you need to put in the work and do the hard things.
Yeah. Doing hard things turns out is good for marriages. Mm-hmm. No matter what the hard thing is. But anyway. So
definitely the short like thing is like, do you want to be married or do you want to be right?
You want to make sure to deal with the long thing. It's very important. Got her. But anyhow, so other applications. So we talked about marriage applications to this prompt. In business, sometimes you want to just let other people overplay their hand and make appropriate moves after the fact. Because not everybody needs to exhaust their resources at the same time. Oftentimes you'll find that when a competitor goes ahead and overextends on a thing, that's an opportunity for you to make a move. Now in life, patience is a virtue that is incredibly difficult to build over time. This whole like taking time to surrender and hide your power level at appropriate times is part of the patience associated with developing yourself over time. Because just like in the gym, it doesn't make sense to just throw two plates on each side and just go for it. It is a process that you need to go through.
Just like from a female perspective, we have to like figure out if this is what we want to like, put an issue we want to push in our favor. I really do think that it's harder for a man trying to lead a traditional relationship because not only do you have to know yourself and you have to know the objectives and you have to know that, you have to know me. Like, right. You have to know me and what is going to concern me and what is going, like, my safety gland situation and all of that stuff. Just like, we're about to have inclement weather. And, like, you're like, what do you need from the store right now to feel like you're prepared for this?
Right.
And it was like, I need more bread, probably, because the kids are just going to be like, oh, we need peanut butter sandwiches 24 hours. And I need gas in the car. That's it.
Cool.
And then it was like, done. Got that.
Easy. Here you go. Boom.
Yeah. And then it's like, thanks. But it's because you knew that I was going to like struggle a little bit.
Yeah. Because when you start bringing up 5 days in advance, there's forecast for snow and bad weather. I'm like,
well, when the Weather Channel biffs it that bad. Okay. I'm just saying.
Right. But the thing is, the fact that you're bringing it up in the first place is my first indicator that something is up. And I'm like, let me pay attention to this a little bit.
Yeah.
Because normally you don't bring up topics willy-nilly. There is a reason you are bringing things up.
You're like, wait, the Weather Channel, it's not late February. What's happening? It's
this doesn't make any sense. So then I go ahead and say, hey, because of this, what do you need? Right? Because I know that unless everything is stocked, you're going to have some like nagging doubt that's going on in the back, and it's going to ruin the weekend. No matter what we're doing, doesn't matter if we need it or not. If there was a perception that the need existed and that perception isn't satisfied, it ruins everything. But, and like, if I'm being real honest, this is like the cheapest $35 ever. Like, right? Really? Like, fill the gas tank, get a couple of loaves of bread, and then have a very peaceful weekend. That is a wonderful $35 to spend. Like, come on, guys. Really. Sometimes it is that easy.
But also, like, it's a beautiful testament to, like, our progression together.
Sure.
In that I'm not like, we need, like, 30 days of, like, like, over the hedge, you fill the log all the way up to the top.
Yeah, and I'm just like, no, that's ridiculous.
No, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yes. So it's like I've also taken steps toward not being so hysterical, but also you've taken steps toward like kind of at least in some way scratching that safety gland itch.
I love scratching your itches. So bam! The setup was great on that one.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, yeah, like that's true. There's progress in both directions, right? It's not that I don't see the wisdom in what you're saying. It's I do see it, but it needed moderation, right? That's the big thing.
Yeah.
Is like it didn't make sense to waste resources on items that would go bad and end up being waste for the sake of appeasing your overactive safety gland. So it's a matter of moderating that over time and saying, look, this is what the process has been. This is the action that you had asked that we take. This is the action that was taken. There's a big gap between what you asked and what was taken and what the net results were. And then over time, you moderated your position. You're like, okay, I can be safe with less. I don't need 28 loaves of bread when 3 loaves would be just fine.
But also it's an interesting perspective that a lot of modern women, when they see traditional things, like when just traditional, like confident men, who
Right.
like they're like, I'm going to be nice and get you a something, like a designer bag.
Sure.
Let's just go
That's
with
the
that
current
one.
thing that you're on.
Not really, but like
But
it's
kinda.
just like a thing that I watched and I'm just like, with my Michael Jackson with the popcorn. But there was this guy who was like, I'm gonna buy you a bag. Okay, cool. And he's like, but this is what I want for you. Like,
Oh,
this
I
is
remember
what,
the video
you
you're
remember
talking
that?
about. Yep.
This is specifically what I'm looking for to buy her because this is what I see that this is what I want for her.
Right.
And people don't even think about the fact that they already communicate ahead of time. They set everything up, like.
Sure. It's a setup.
But okay, let's
But for drama
suspend
for
that,
social media.
that belief. Okay.
Yeah.
And then so she's like, but I want to look at this stuff.
Sure.
This other thing that wasn't part of the original premise.
Right.
And then he lets her try it on. He lets her try her choice and her preference and stuff. And he's like, yeah, but we're going to buy this. Like,
This is what I'm buying you.
And everybody's jimmies, everybody's flabbers get gasted. And they're like, oh my gosh, he's so controlling. He's so insecure. Why can't he let her have what she wants? Blah, blah, blah. Never mind the fact that there's like a $20,000 difference between the two.
Well,
okay.
Well, what's interesting is even the lady behind the counter was like trying to go ahead and work on the woman's side of that equation. And the woman was like, yeah, I want this, I want this, I want this. And the guy's like, yeah, no, this is my gift that I am giving to you. And I want to see you in that.
Yeah.
And so this is really interesting because it reminds me of a controversy that was going on Christian Twitter, like for a while, like about a month ago, where someone had made a statement that said, look, if your husband says, I want to see you in a red dress every day, every month, there's no reason the wife should say no, provided that he's going ahead and providing all the red dresses and all that, and she's got plenty. Mm-hmm. If that's what he wants to see her in, and people lost their mind completely.
Of course.
Of course, because they're like, oh, you're so controlling and all this. And it's like, look, if the man wants to see his wife a certain way,
and he's providing these
and
things.
he is providing all the resources to align with his preference, what's wrong with that? Really? What is really wrong with that?
It's like, what's happening here, really?
Right. It's just like when a guy goes ahead and says, hey, this is what's happening. I know you don't normally make a meal on this day. Can you make a meal? And you go ahead and give pushback. Well, sometimes it's just, can you just make the meal?
Yeah.
And it's okay. It should be okay for like these requests to be made and for them to be followed. Right? So
yeah.
I just thought that was wild because that circumstance reminded me of this whole big thing where, all these egalitarians were running out going, oh my gosh, you're such a controlling jerk. Why are you going ahead and doing that? And he's like, I'm not saying that I am, but I'm saying that there's nothing wrong with that requirement being made, right? If he's leading the household and he's going and providing everything, Like, what is actually wrong with that?
It was just interesting. It's like the fact that he let her try on her preference too.
Sure.
He stood back and he didn't at every little thing. He didn't go, this, what are you doing? This is great. No, he let her have it.
Mm-hmm.
But he ultimately made the unilateral decision.
Yeah, he made the call.
This is what we're going with.
Mm-hmm.
Why is everybody upset?
You know exactly why they're upset. They're upset because she didn't get her way. And anytime women don't get their way, people get upset on social media.
But it's just like, even in this seemingly myopic situation,
where she's getting this huge luxury, bag.
All the more, when there are things that are more
practical,
more emergent, more important,
mm-hmm.
like it, just because she doesn't get her way, especially if she doesn't get her way all the time, doesn't mean that her perspective was not considered.
Right.
And people just go there, and it don't make no sense.
Well, for them, it doesn't count unless she gets her way.
Yeah.
Right? It's just like the whole white knights and harpies thing is like, hey, if we have anybody that's like saying anything that is even slightly derogatory towards women, like in specific or in general, you have the whole tribe of the white knights, on their horses coming into the comment section and standing up for Milady.
Or even just, somebody saying, hey, those dresses just aren't flattering on you, and this is the reason why your shape would be more for something else. And people just go, why you gotta be so hateful? It's like,
it's not being hateful, it's
called
providing
constructive criticism.
Yeah, it's well reasoned.
But they they just completely throw the baby out with the bathwater and just say that's criticism. That's it.
Well, think about it this way, because women are naturally people that seek consensus. When someone provides them something that is outside of the realm of consensus, it sets their alarm bells off. They're like, oh, why are they saying that we're wrong? Everybody else is saying that we're right. Why is this person the mean one that's saying we're wrong?
Let's shame them into submission.
Let's shame them until they say that we're right.
Until they toe the party line.
And it's like, yeah, that's how it might work in girl world, but that's definitely not how it should work in man world. And
or even just objectively, that's not how this should be.
It shouldn't be. But here's the thing is we can go ahead and shame what shouldn't be, but we would be like against our better judgment if we didn't recognize what is and then try to encourage what should be from that. Like you can go ahead and recognize that this is something that happens in our modern context all over the place, and then go ahead and try to gently guide people into, hey, just because she doesn't get her way doesn't mean that he doesn't love her. It doesn't care for her. It doesn't guide, guard, and protect her.
Yeah.
Right?
But this is also why passivity isn't the way.
Well, why is that? Go ahead and dig into that a little bit.
Because women will just run rampant with whatever the heck they want. And it's just like to no one's benefit, not even their own.
Right. Because it turns out that when they're without guidance, oftentimes they do self-destructive things.
Like practically getting run over by electric cars in the airport on the concourse.
Oh my gosh. That's so ridiculous. Just watching their phone, not paying attention to anything around them.
With both earbuds in a busy airport.
Nice. All right.
Not that we've ever seen that.
Oh, clearly not. Not like literally every time we go to the airport. But anyhow, that's the idea of sometimes it's okay to go ahead and strategically run away from situations and focus on the overall objective and realize that not every fight needs to be fought. And sometimes it's okay to provide correction and then dial back a little bit and then reapproach when you see evidence one way or the other. Mm-hmm. So the next law is concentrate your forces, otherwise known as don't split the party.
Don't split the party.
Don't split the party. So when your attention is scattered to a million different places, you can't get stuff done. It's real difficult to do this.
Why are you telling everything? Why are you talking about me?
I'm talking about me sometimes too. It's like, I want to go ahead and read all these books and I want to learn all these things, but sometimes my focus is not crystal clear. Sometimes it's just like, oh, I need to line out priorities and be like, this is what I'm doing first, then this, because otherwise I'm going to go ahead and be led in 20 different directions instead of doing the one thing I need to be doing.
Or overthinking everything so much that you exhaust yourself before you even start and you lay down and do nothing.
Sure, all of these kinds of things. And like, even in the context of Dungeons and Dragons, if you're going ahead and putting attacks into 4 different monsters instead of killing the one monster, you end up taking so much more damage as a result. It is ridiculous. Don't be doing this.
You're trying to do 4 side quests at the same time. It's like, no. Don't half-ass a bunch of things. Whole-ass one thing.
Whole-ass one thing. Now, there is something to be said. If all those side quests are in the same general area, then by all means, go ahead and take care of that. Like, that's just a matter of being, like, a wise steward of your time. Like, go ahead and do that. But don't go all over creation to go ahead and try to do 16 different things when you can just do one thing at a time and get more done.
Yeah. I've done that quite a bit where I just, like, I've had to, like, really learn over time and make it a practice to be like, I have all these things to do and I'm freaking out about doing, like, looking at everything all at once. And I'm like, okay, have a little panic attack. Okay, cool. Take a breath and go make a list. Start with that.
Sure. And I think it's interesting because our modern age really lends itself to distraction. Like our phones, for example, is like a rectangle of all distractions all the time in so many ways. And I find that modern men are pulled in so many different directions where they have expectations that are levied upon them. They have all the distractions that are going against them. They have all the vices that are, consistently assaulting them in their psyche. And there's the lofty expectations to go ahead and get stuff done. And unless they're focused, they're not going to be able to do it. And so it's just a matter of taking time to know what your priorities are and then act in accordance with those. And it's just real tough out there for an undisciplined man to do these things.
Especially when you have a partner, a spouse, who's already adding to the noise.
Yeah.
Rather than taking away some things that you don't need to deal with so you can go do the big things.
Right. And I think that's really important because sometimes guys will go ahead and see all the things that need to be done and don't recognize when they should delegate certain things if they have somebody to delegate to, right? But because there are so many women that are like, I don't need no man, or I don't want to go ahead and take directions from my man or anything like that. He's not the boss of me. Then you end up with this dynamic where guys are dissipating all their energy because they have to do all this stuff that he could just ask for the woman to go ahead and do, take that off his plate so he can handle the more important things in life that actually go ahead and bring home the bacon.
It's like, yes, I should not have to have a man telling me what to do every second of the day. I should be regulated enough and care enough about this other person that I should see the things that I could take off of the plate.
Yeah. And I mean, that's like the advanced level of this thing.
That is. But
so
like,
even at the base level,
hopefully you have enough like care for the other person to want to at least get there.
Sure. And I mean, the thing is, sometimes people need the baby steps to get there, where it's like, look, here are the things I need from you today. I need you to go ahead and handle laundry. I need you to go ahead and vacuum. And I need you to once over the kitchen. Can you do those 3 things? I just need 3 things done. Some people thrive really well under those circumstances because you are giving them guidance and you are giving them a direction to go in so that when you get home and those 3 things are done, you're like, that's awesome. Thank you for doing what you've done. Because
Gold star. Yay.
Because
thank you.
Now I don't have to worry about handling my own laundry on top of having, worked a stressful job for all this time to go ahead and make sure that you have a lovely home to live in, right? And by keeping and maintaining the lovely home, now I get to benefit from coming home and it not being a pigsty. Things are somewhat orderly. Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, when you got 4 kids, hey, sometimes it's going to be a circus. But for it to stay a circus is a choice, which is different from, hey, it just so happened to be a circus right now. Especially when you got teenagers that can go ahead and take on some of the load. Not all of the load, but some of the load.
But it's just interesting to me how women especially women, want to stay at that level where it's just like, I'm going to do everything possible to dig in my heels and tell you that you don't tell me what to do. And that's just where they think they should be. And then based on
what?
On top of it, mm-hmm. they're going to sit there and say, we need to divide everything 50-50 in this sphere.
But not universally.
But forget everything else outside of the sphere that's happening. But
because it doesn't count.
It doesn't count because out of sight, out of mind. It's
You're
like,
right.
how does that even work?
Well, because it's delusional. That's how it works for them.
It's like, okay, well, if you are truly a modern egalitarian couple and you both work outside of the home, that's stuff you have to negotiate. But I'm saying, like, if
the dude's bringing home the bacon,
this is supposed to be her sphere, and this is his sphere, yeah, okay, things get crazy every once in a while, especially in the throes of rearing small children.
Sure.
Which we've have like a lot of friends that have kind of entered into our bubble and that come across our paths that are in the throes of parenting small children. That's tough.
Sure.
But the thing is, it's an ebb and flow still.
Yeah, and it's just like, what is your priority at that point? And like having a good faith acknowledgement about what can and cannot be done in a given period of time. And that good faith has to exist on both sides, right? It can't just be one of those things where it's like, oh, the only thing I'm capable of doing is making sure the kids don't die. It's like, that's like the bare minimum. You literally can't do anything. No, I can't do any of that. I just don't have the energy to. It's like, come on. Like, lady. All right.
And we're back. That was fun.
As we were saying before, we were so rudely interrupted.
Thanks a lot, power.
Thank you, power outage. Okay, anyway, back to it.
Not even snowing yet.
So concentrating your forces. The idea is that in a marriage, that if you have inconsistent leadership, right, this is basically the idea of, hey, you're not having focus when you are leading your family and your wife and all of this other stuff. It can go ahead and lead to just inconsistent results, right? Is if I'm going to go ahead and head in, do the thing, and then go, all right, you got it for 3 weeks. Figure it out. Like, that's not going to work,
No.
right? It's just one of those things.
We're enough of like the chaos goblin energy that like we don't need that going and coming. Like, it doesn't need to come from both sides. There needs somebody to hold the wheel and right the ship when ish happens.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things where it's like, look, once you go ahead and set up your normal operating procedures as a family, like the guy's responsibility is to go ahead and guide it along the way. And hopefully your foundation is set well enough that you don't need huge swings of like the way that you run your family or any kind of overcorrection, because that's a way to capsize your ship by trying to turn too quickly in too short a span of time.
Yeah. But definitely if you are, you have been operating in a modern egalitarian sense for a while and you are trying to walk that back to a better place, like it's definitely going to be a little bit.
It's going to be rocky.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Like, it is hard putting that racehorse back inside the gate to start all over again.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, you're making the huge correction to start, but then from there, recognize that you're going to have these bumps and bruises along the way, and just recognize you're trying to get to a desired end state. And depending on your commitment to that process, you're going to see different things along the way. Now, guys that spread themselves too thin, like at work, will go ahead and see a very similar problem in that they may try to do 15 projects at once and not do 13 of them particularly well, when really they would be better served saying, hey, in my position, this is what I can carry on my plate. I can carry a little bit more, but depending on the quality of work that you're asking of me, I'm going to need to let you know that if you have more for me, the quality is going to suffer. And if you're okay with that quality suffering, that's fine. I just need to let you know that if I don't tell you, I would be doing you a disservice as my employer, right? And having the emotional maturity to make that assessment ahead of time and to be upfront and honest with what the thing is. So long as you're making a good faith assessment of what you can reasonably do, right? And I think a lot of times people just have a hard time pushing back on that kind of thing, right? Where sometimes, like even in the military, you have somebody that performs really well, and then when they perform well, they're like, "Oh, great, let's put more stuff on that person.
More on you, yeah.
Let's go. They can go ahead and carry more load, so let's put more load on them, and never mind these other people that are barely carrying anything." And it just gets ridiculous a lot of times.
It does,
and
that's what burns good people out.
Sure, and it's really funny because a lot of times I would and let people know, hey, if you are an exceptional person and you can go ahead and handle being exceptional of your own volition, then you don't really need the structure of the military. It could be one of those things that you go out and do on your own. But a lot of people that excel in the military are like, high-end kind of people, but they don't have that self-motivation early enough in life for them to propel themselves outside of the atmosphere, so to speak. Like they can go ahead and glide on a runway and just run until the runway ends, but they never go fast enough or hard enough to get off the ground. And I think that as a guy, sometimes you need to go ahead and just find what your purpose in life is and concentrate toward that end. But so few men have a really clear understanding of purpose for their life. And so it causes them to spread their efforts all over creation.
Or we've seen so many people who are, genuinely good people who have a lot of potential, where they'll start to pursue a certain path. And then when it starts to get difficult, they pull back and they do something else. And then that gets difficult. And it's like, you just see them flounder and just, they're just, when the struggle starts, they don't just go like struggle against it for a little while to make the breakthrough. Like they won't do that. And it's just like, it's so hard to see people, but then they're not, if you tell them something about it, they're not going to be ready to hear that.
Sure.
You almost have to let them like fail a couple times before you're like, can I offer you some advice? Like, can I help you with that? Like, and to get them to see what's happening. But a lot of the time when, you're talking about men who spread too thin, especially in a career, you will see them they'll be more reactive than proactive, and then just spend all of their time and effort fighting fires rather than making progress.
Sure. Well, because they're in like this hamster wheel instead of making forward progress on anything, because they're so burdened by the various fires that are constantly lighting around them. So,
and then add to it, if there's pressure at home.
So next law that we've got on the books is play the perfect courtier. So what that is about is making sure that you can navigate social hierarchies and read the room. We talk about this a lot in this whole process, but this is a law that is very specific to the art of leading or reading the room. And oftentimes, people do not recognize that just by watching out for the people around you, you can learn an awful lot about what is going on in people's lives and in how they carry themselves. And by picking up on those bits and pieces, that helps you to take that knowledge, integrate it into how you act and show up in that environment. And it gives you an opportunity to be relevant in that given context and to go ahead and show yourself to be capable in that hierarchy. Whereas I think a lot of people are very set in their ways a lot, and they aren't willing to be adaptive to the circumstances that are going on around them. Like, kind of reminds me of one of my uncles where, he's got this personality where he knows the thing, he's doing the thing, and if you go ahead and introduce anything that is outside of the narrow boundaries that he's ascribed for himself, it's wrong. We got to go ahead and do it my way. And it's like, buddy, it's okay. I'm trying to help you out. You may not see what's going on here. Look, there's a car coming. Please, look, there's a car. You need to back up.
It's like, do you have any notion or inkling that there may or may not be, there may be people who are as capable as yourself, or maybe more so.
Or at least they see something differently that could be used for your own benefit.
Yeah.
Right.
That could be, there's other people that you can kind of lean on, get the job done.
Sure. But that attitude that goes along with that is very difficult to use and properly navigate most social hierarchies, because it is very rare that you're going to be in that high position in the hierarchy by your nature of status or title or position and not have to actually deal with this stuff. The way that you time things, the tone of voice, the way that you deliver things absolutely matter, because talking down to people or talking up to people in the wrong way, like in a sarcastic tone, can easily kill your influence in so many ways. And it's just a matter of knowing where you stand in the pecking order can help inform you of how to talk to other people, right? Like if you're in a meeting and you are not the guy that's leading the meeting, you probably shouldn't be directing other people in the meeting and talking over the person that's running it.
This is what I love about educating our kids the way that we do, especially at this high school, upper junior high level. We are giving them exposure to the concepts of rhetoric and rhetorical devices and using them to communicate with others.
Right.
It's like the best practical exercise. Just listening to a lot of the most famous speeches out there. If you listen to recordings of it, how they deliver it, what the tone of voice is, you can almost just try and exercise in just listening to it without any context and figuring out how they're what the attitude is and the context. You can almost surmise the context by how it's being delivered.
Right.
And doing that with the older kids, and just for myself too, it's been a very eye-opening experience. It's been fun.
Yeah. And the big thing here we're not trying to do the people-pleasing thing. The purpose is to use the knowledge of those around you to influence the elements that need to be influenced to achieve your objectives in life, right? Sometimes you need to word your statements differently if you want things to go your way. And depending on who you're dealing with, that's just going to be a natural part of it. But if you lack the social intuition to read the room, oftentimes you're going to put your foot in your mouth. Even if you have the right position at hand, you can be 100% right. And if you go ahead and talk to somebody the wrong way, you can just blow the interaction, even though you are factually correct and all the evidence is on your side.
You might as well be talking to a brick wall at that point.
Because they're closed off to you.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas with the right words, you could possibly win them over to your side and get them to respect the difference of opinion and take a further look into it. Right? Because if you come to an interaction with humility, it allows them to have the choice in the matter of how they respond. But if you come in guns blazing, it puts people on the defense so quick. And when people are listening to react, they are not listening to understand. And oftentimes, people that are in their feelings do not get out of them in the same conversation. And you're going to have to disentangle yourself and try to come back correct next time.
And telling them to calm down is not going to work to the benefit of anyone.
You need to calm down. I think you're crazy. You can go ahead and think they're hysterical, but just don't say it sometimes.
Some thoughts are inside thoughts.
Right? And don't get me wrong. There are exceptional circumstances where you just got to call a spade a spade.
It's like, I can't even deal with you right now.
But that's not the majority case.
No, it's not.
Those are exceptional circumstances that require exceptional action. We're talking about the majority of the time. Hey, season your speech with salt or pepper, whatever you need to put in there to meet the palate of the intended recipient. Some people just like it bland. I don't know. I'm not British. I like seasoning in my food.
Some people like just straight up Tabasco.
Right? But the idea is it is socially wise to know what's going on where you're at, no matter where it is that you're at, whether you're at the Walmart or whether you're at the country club.
Did you just say the Walmart?
The Walmart.
The Walmart.
I could go ahead and say the Walmart, right? But I'm not going to do that.
You just did.
Yeah, that's the idea. That's the joke.
What's next? The Piggly Wiggly?
The Piggly Wiggly. You never know. But anyway, the idea is like know when to speak, when to challenge somebody, when to stay silent. These are all parts of having social wisdom and reading the room and being the right voice at the right time.
And it comes with practice.
Yeah, it does. Because I'll tell you what, most men are not brought up to go ahead and socially navigate the waters. We're brought up to go ahead and take action and take responsibility, right? The idea is if you can do both, you are a much more consolidated man that can get more done. Because it turns out that influencing others to get people to do things for you is a lot more efficient than doing it yourself most of the time.
Who knew?
Who knew? So in a marriage, like having the right words for your wife or the right way to approach your wife is usually going to go ahead and be so much better. Sometimes she's going to need blunt, like she's going to need it just blunt when the correction is like really needed and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But most of the time that's not the case. Hopefully. Hopefully you're not at that point where you have to use a hammer on everything.
By the same token, approaching your husband with your concerns and, you know, in a not so hysterical way, turns out it paves the way for you to be heard more.
Right.
Rather than if everything is an existential crisis.
Oh my gosh.
And
yeah.
everything is like from mountains out of molehills, who's going to take you seriously?
And at some point, you're going to go ahead and turn your husband's heart to stone because he just won't care about it. Because it's like the boy who cried wolf is if everything's an emergency, then nothing's an emergency. Whereas you'd be much better off reserving the emergency status for things that truly matter. And that's just the way of it. Because we can only take on so much of that stress that's out of hysterics rather than what the situation realistically merits for so long.
I really do think that is what breeds the dreaded passivity more quicker than anything.
Yeah,
is the
burning a guy out
constant red alert status, like
and nagging about everything. Because then he's just like, yeah, what? I don't care. Go ahead and do whatever.
Well, think about it, especially as a mother. Your voice is the thing that the children hear the most. Just the sheer proximity.
Right.
I'm the one at home all the time.
Right.
So there comes a time where if I'm saying something, again, we talk about, you know, finding a different approach because it's just going to be background noise. Everything is hysterical. Everything is like, so the point where, you know, you're trying to address children, especially like in a certain manner, if you do it, you know, repetitively, then finally you start to yell at them. They're like, oh, why is she just yelling all of a sudden? It's like, you didn't hear me the first 800 times I said it. So that way I had to change my tone of voice.
Yeah. And like, so if you're talking about, you know, things in the community as well, is by being able to read the room, you're able to influence other people without like, one, puffing up your own ego, and two, like causing their egos to get hurt. Because if you go ahead and come at people like aggressively, they're automatically going to be on the defensive. Let's be honest, even if you come at them respectfully, a lot of times they're going to already be prone to defensiveness, regardless of how gently you go ahead and raise the circumstance.
That's just the nature of the culture that we've, you know, been steeped in.
Sure. Because like, you know, we have
without being disagreeable.
Right. And we have a game plan that's already written in scripture. It's like, hey, look, if you have a problem with a brother, you go ahead and take them aside one-on-one and you have the conversation with them and try to go ahead and restore them to a good status. And if they won't listen to you, then you take 2 or 3 more. And then if it still doesn't work, you take them to the elders, right?
Which by its own nature, you already have to explain the context of the situation to those 2 or 3 others.
Right.
and they'll be like, yes, this makes sense, and they're on board with you to go approach this other person.
Right. And the idea is you're not trying to hunt them down.
Yeah.
You're trying to restore them in a spirit of meekness.
So you already have to have a clear, concise perspective on what's happening,
right,
to bring other people into it.
Yeah. And then from a business perspective, like looking at the structure of the business and the positions that different people have is an important concept to have in the back of your mind when addressing other people, right? Like you don't want to go ahead and just shoot your mouth off to your supervisor or to the head of the company. You don't do these things because you're going to put your foot in your mouth and you're going to end up with these social consequences that you may be this amazing technician. You can go ahead and turn a wrench like nobody else can. But if you say stupid things to the wrong person, you're going to hamper your upward mobility. And it's just a matter of sometimes you need to keep your mouth shut. And sometimes you need to know how to tell the person that they're wrong.
By the same token, you need to, like, it goes back to one of the previous laws, like, know who you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Like, if you shoot your mouth off in the elevator or in the lobby, you know, just to random Joe Schmuck you don't know, and it turns out he's the CEO, guess what? I don't think you'll have a job the next day.
It is totally possible, depending on the nature of what you do, that is the case.
If you do that in the wrong context to the wrong person.
Yeah, because not every CEO has the confidence in themselves to go ahead and say, okay, this guy clearly had no idea who he was talking to. Let me go ahead and take him aside and be like, hey, look, here's what's up.
Or maybe it's just that bad where it was just that erratic. It's like, I don't want this person working for me.
That could be the case too.
Because on the same level, if Joe Schmuck, you know, Joe Lobie is talking to whoever, they don't know who it is.
With a loose tongue like that.
What are they saying to clients or, you know, in the presence of other...
Yeah, how are they representing the business?
They're airing companies' dirty laundry, the competition, loose lips and all of that.
Sure. And there's so many things that you can use to apply this concept. But the idea is just, hey, like, be smart about who you're talking to and understand that the way that you deliver your message does matter. And there's more than one way to deliver every message. It's just what it is. There's different levels of effectiveness depending on who you're talking to and the severity of the issue. All right. So we went ahead and went through these 4 laws, and I think it's interesting because there's so much like left and right boundary that can be reached with these things. And I just want to deliver 4 challenges to the guys listening, one for each law. The first one is, where am I proving, like trying to go ahead and argue my way out of things instead of leading? So using like overcorrection or something like that as opposed to like gentle influence. Where is that a big thing in my life? Next is, where am I forcing the issue instead of waiting for an opportune moment? Where am I scattered instead of being focused? Like where am I betraying my priorities? Or where do I lack social awareness? If you can find something to dig in on any of those 4 questions and work on that for a week or a month, it may be something deep that you can work on it for a whole year of development. It would be a worthwhile endeavor for you and for your family at home. Do you have any closing words for the lady folk?
Yeah, it's tough. It is especially tough for women to be more intentional about their words. Mm-hmm. Because we just, from emotions here to just out the mouth. And there's often, especially I know when I was younger, there was no filter.
Right.
It just, and I had to learn, especially from enough, you know, social situations where it's like, look, man, you especially, because I knew I was smarter than the average bear.
Sure.
Clearly. And I was probably, especially compared to most women, I was more emotionally aware of what was happening. But it actually made it a bigger uphill battle to put that filter in place.
Sure.
So, and I even, especially my girls, but all of my children, I teach them, just because some things are true does not mean that they need to be said
right
out loud.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes things absolutely need to be said, and you should say it loud and proud and with your chest and stand by it.
Yeah, if you're going to stand on that business, make sure it's something that you can back up.
Sure. And the wisdom is in knowing the difference between the two.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So I just ask you to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, share this with a brother that could use this message and benefit from it, and go ahead and comment down below which law hit you the hardest. I hope y'all have a fantastic day.